The Kaysanites were a Shi'i sect of Islam that formed from the followers of Al-Mukhtar. They are often described in later literature as ghulat, a kind of heretic. Etymology: the followers of Al-Mukhtar who emerged from his movement, who firstly upheld the imamate of Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah and his descendants, or any other designated successors, were initially named the Mukhtariyya, but were soon more commonly referred to as the Kaysanites. The name Kaysaniya seems to have been based on the kunya Kaysan, allegedly given to Al-Mukhtar by Ali, or the name of a freed Muwali of Ali who was killed at the Battle of Siffin called Kaysan, from whom it is claimed Al-Mukhtar acquired his ideas. However, it is much more probably named after Abu Amr Kaysan, a prominent Muwali and chief of Al-Mukhtar's personal bodyguard. The Kaysanites were also known as Hanifis, for a Shia and Kashabiyya beliefs. The Kaysanites as a collective sect held the following common beliefs. They condemned the first three caliphs before Ali as illegitimate usurpers, and also held that the community had gone astray by accepting the rule. They believed Ali and his three sons Hassan ibn Ali, Hussein ibn Ali and Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah were the successive imams and successors to Muhammad by divine appointment, and that they were endowed with supernatural attributes. They believed that Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah was the Mahdi. They believed in Barda, the seepage of Jewish Zoroastrian subsect Mazdaism beliefs into the Kaysanite beliefs. Furthermore, some Kaysanite subsects established their own unique beliefs, such as, some believed Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah was concealed at Mount Radwa near Medina, guarded by lions and tigers and fed by mountain goats, and would return as the Mahdi. Some referred to Dar al-Taqir as those territories that were not their own. Their own territories were referred to as Dar al-Alaniya. Some began to use ideas of a generally Gnostic nature which were current in Iraq during the 8th century. Some interpreted Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah's temporary banishment to Mount Radwa and concealment as chastisement for his mistake of traveling from Mecca to Damascus to pledge allegiance and pay a visit to the false Caliph Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan. History: the Kaysanites pursued an activist anti-establishment policy against the Umayyads, aiming to transfer leadership of the Muslims to Alids, and accounted for the bulk allegiance of the Shia populace until shortly after the Abbasid Revolution. Initially they broke away from the religiously moderate attitudes of the early Kufan Shia. Most of the Kaysanites' support came from superficially Islamicized muwallis in southern Iraq, Persia and elsewhere, as well as other supporters in Iraq, particularly in Kufa and al-Madain. Following the death of Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, the bulk of the Kaysanites acknowledged the imamate of Abdallah ibn Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. This subsect, which comprised the majority of the Kaysanites, was the earliest Shiite group whose teachings and revolutionary stance were disseminated in Persia, especially in Greater Khorasan, where it found adherents among the Muwallis and Arab settlers. By the end of the Umayyad period, the majority of the Hashimiyya transferred their allegiance to the Abbasid family, and they played an important role in the propaganda campaign that eventually led to the successful Abbasid Revolution. However, the Kaysanites did not survive as a sect, even though they occupied a majority position among the Shia until shortly after the Abbasid Revolution. The remaining Kaysanites who had not joined the Abbasid party sought to align themselves with alternative Shia communities. Therefore, in Khorasan and other eastern lands many joined the Karamites. In Iraq they joined Ja'far al-Sadiq and Muhammad al-Nafs al-Zakir, who were then the main alleged claimants to the imamate. However, with the demise of the activist movement of al-Nafs Arizona Zakir, Ja'far al-Sadiq emerged as the main rallying point. Hence, by the end of the 8th century the majority of the Kaysanites had turned to other imams. Kaysanite subsects. The Kaysanite Shia sect split into numerous subsects throughout its history. These splits would occur after a Kaysanite leader died and his followers would divide by pledging their allegiance to different leaders, with each subsect claiming the authenticity of its own leader. When Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya died in 700, the Kaysanites split into at least 3 distinct subsects. Karabia, Arabia, named after the leader Abu Karab al-Dariya. They refused to acknowledge Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya's death and believed he was concealed in the Radwa mountains near Medina, from whence he would eventually emerge as the Mahdi to fill the earth with justice and equity, as it had formerly been filled with injustice and oppression. Another subsect was under the leadership of a man named Hayyan al-Sarraj. They affirmed the death of Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, but maintained that he and his partisans would return to life in the future when he would establish justice on earth. Another subsect founded by Hamza ibn Umara al-Barbari asserted divinity for Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya and prophethood for Hamza ibn Umara al-Barbari, and acquired some supporters in Kufa and Medina. Another subsect was the Hashimiyya. The Hashimiyya comprised the majority of the Kaysanites after the death of Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya. They accepted Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya's death and recognized his eldest son Abu Hashim as his successor. The Hashimiyya believed that Abu Hashim was personally designated by Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya as his successor. Therefore, Abu Hashim became the imam of the majority of the Shia of that time, even though he was slightly younger than his cousin Zayn al-Abidin. From their Kufa base, the Hashimiyya managed to recruit adherents in other provinces, especially among the Mawali in Khorasan. After the death of Abu Hashim, no less than 4 to 5 subsects claimed succession to Abu Hashim from the original Hashimiyya. The Habiyya, which would later be known as the Janafiyya, were the followers of Abdullah ibn Muawiyya ibn Abdullah ibn Jafar. Abdullah ibn Muawiyya was Abu Hashim's cousin and the grandson of Far ibn Abi Talib. According to the Habiyya Janafiyya, he was the legitimate successor of Abu Hashim. He revolted after the death of his cousin Zayd ibn Ali and his nephew Yahya ibn Zayd ibn Ali. His revolt spread through Iraq into Isfahan and Fars from 744 to 748. He was also joined by the Zaydiyya, Abbasids, and Kharijids in revolt. For a while, Abdullah ibn Muawiyya established himself at Estak, from where he ruled for a few years over Fars and other parts of Persia, including Ahvaz, Jabil, Isfahan and Kerman from 744 to 748 until fleeing to Khorasan from the advancing Umayyad forces. When fleeing to Khorasan, he was killed by Abu Muslim Khorasani in 748 while imprisoned. The Habiyya Janafiyya subsect expounded many extremist and Gnostic ideas such as the pre-existence of souls as shadows, the transmigration of souls, and a cyclical history of eras and eons. Some of these ideas were adopted by other early Shia ghulat groups. After the death of Abdullah ibn Muawiyya, a subsect of the Habiyya Janafiyya claimed that he was alive and hiding in the mountains of Isfahan. Another subsect of the Hashimiyya recognized the Abbasid Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Abdullah ibn Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib as the legitimate successor of Abu Hashim. This Abbasid subsect comprised the majority of the original Hashimiyya. The Abbasids alleged that Abu Hashim had named his successor to be Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Abdullah. Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Abdullah became the founder of the Abbasid Caliphate. He had a brother named Ibrahim and 2 sons as Safar and al-Mansur. Therefore, the ideological engine of the Abbasid revolt was that of the Kaysanites. Another subsect was the Abu Muslimiyya subsect. This subsect maintained that the Imamate had passed from a Safar to Abu Muslim. They also believed that al-Mansur did not kill Abu Muslim, but instead someone who resembled Abu Muslim, and that Abu Muslim was still alive. Another subsect was the Rizamiyya. They refused to repudiate Abu Muslim, but also affirmed that the imamate would remain in the Abbasid family until the Qiyamah, when a descendant of Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib would be the Mahdi.